That one wasn't in the book. Holy shit.
Nope.
Literally. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chris Vitali. Welcome to the Tuesdays with Leroy show. Today I'm pleased, very pleased to have Mr. Jim Morris with us again. How are you, Mr. Morris? What's going on?
Great, Chris. I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
On fire?
I'm not on fire yet, so hopefully we avoid that.
Lots of prayers, man. Lots of
Thanks,
prayers.
man. Thank you. I mean, you had your own thing going on. You moved into your house yesterday. So
And then all of a sudden this thunderstorm hits. It's lightning everywhere. We're driving in a metal car, opening a metal garage. You're like, lightning rod, man.
Perfect. That's all you need. As long as you're not standing out there with an aluminum bat like this, then you're in good shape.
Exactly.
But so for those of our viewers that don't know the story, which I can't imagine there are very many, you were the oldest rookie. You wrote the book about it. Disney made a movie about that starring Dennis Quaid. You broke into the majors at 35 years old.
Yeah.
And that's an incredible story as it is. But my favorite part of the story is when you had your shoulder surgery. What were you, 27, 28?
28.
28. And they removed how much of your deltoid muscle?
85%.
85%. And 10 years later, you come back throwing 10 miles an hour faster.
Yeah, I mean, I could have, I guess, buried that doctor because he goes, 85% of your muscle is gone. You'll never pitch again. And oh, by the way, you have the shoulder joint of an 85-year-old man. And I'm 28.
Yeah.
And then you come back throwing 102. And hey, it was fun. When we got to do the orthopedic surgeons conference in Hawaii, he was there. And for a whole week we're there after I do my talk, and you could just hear people walking behind you go, oh no, you'll never pitch again. It's not going to happen. Can't do it. Oh, it was hysterical, man.
Oh man. I mean, did you get a little good jab in at him in Hawaii at that point, or?
Oh, absolutely.
Good. I mean, you deserved it. You deserved it.
Well,
I mean,
what's funny is he just took it in stride. He goes, I still got that bone spur in my office.
Perfect. If that thing shows up on eBay, man, then you know something's up. I mean, so now when you first started throwing heat, when you started throwing 98, 99, 100, I mean, did it surprise you as much as it must have surprised the kids that you were throwing batting practice to? Or like,
well, the thing is, with the kids, I had no idea because we make the bet they're not hitting me.
Yeah.
The night we win the district championship, I can't get these kids out. They're hitting me all over the park. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're going to win. I got to go try out. I can't even get you out. You're 16 years old. This is going to be great.
So when you did try out, I mean, what was it, 12 in a row that you clocked 98? When you tried out, it was the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, right? There was the Devil Rays at the time.
Yeah.
So you just got up there and you just started throwing gas. You said that you went last out of everybody?
I went last. They made everybody try out before me, and everybody's putting their stuff back in their cars. Well, when I get there with my 3 kids, nobody will even warm up with me. That's the crazy old dude. Stay away from him. And so I'm playing with my kids, changing diapers, having a picnic. And he goes, you're going to go last. All right. I watch everybody throw, run, hit. And then he calls me out to the mound. Everybody's putting their stuff up. And those that without parents are by themselves, but they're putting stuff back in their cars.
Yeah.
And then I start throwing, and 1 radar gun turns into 2, 2 turns into 3. And then he asks this kid to get in the box. He goes, you want me to get in there against that? And I thought, well, maybe it's not as bad as I thought. And then you find out you're throwing 98, and you're like, where did that come from? That never happened before. And the world's spinning, man. And all of a sudden you're like, those kids are hitting 98-mile-an-hour fastballs. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. The kids that you were coaching. I mean, no wonder you won the district championship. You kind of did it to yourself.
Yeah. We lost to a kid who couldn't throw out of a wet paper bag too, and it was ugly set of swings that day, my friend, because everybody was out front.
Yeah, exactly. You might have been too good of a coach at that point. So when So when you were signed by Tampa, um, how long did you spend in the minors before you got called up?
Oh man, I went out to rehab camp, injuries and surgeries. They sent me there to lose famous Amos cookies and Dr. Peppers,
Nice.
and 3 weeks of the best diet I never want to be on again. And I thought I was there to throw. Everybody from the front office had come watch me throw every single day, and I thought this is cool. And so I would throw. I start walking in towards the showers, like, oh no, time for PFPs, and then time for running, and time for pickoff drills. And I thought, wait, I'm a coach. Oh man, it was a lot of weight real quick. But then 2.5 months later, because of a group of kids in West Texas, I'm in the big leagues.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, now when you got into the minor league locker room, did they think you were a coach or something? When you come in at 35, you're cook now, all of a sudden you're with kids that aren't much older than the high school kids
Yeah,
that you were coaching. So I mean, how did that
definitely,
go?
definitely found out the learning curve between 19 and 35, man. Because when you have a family and you have kids, not much surprises you. When you see an old man come in and throw gas, and you're 20, you're like, what is happening to my world? And I walk into Zebulon, North Carolina, where the Orlando Rays are, and I say locker room. It was a trailer because they were still building lockers.
Wow.
And I walk in with my bags, and this kid turns around and goes, "Hey, we got a new coach." I'm like, "All right, I don't like you already." So,
Oh man. So I mean, what you said, 2.5 months you were in the minors with them,
yeah,
and immediately you get called up and you play your first game in Texas, and
Texas, home
that's
state.
that must have been the most surreal experience in the world. I mean,
Getting that. The only place that would have made it better, to be honest with you, and since you're a Yankees fan, I don't want to say this too lightly, but for me, Fenway,
yeah,
being a 10-year-old kid and watching Hank Aaron play there, and then coming back at 35 and pitching on that field. But the next best thing is being in your home state, getting to see your kids, your high school kids,
yeah.
kids you coached against, and everybody show up. And then Johnny Oates, the opposing manager, let 150 people in the game that day that had ties to me. I mean, just an amazing, amazing person
Wow.
he was. And it was a great day. I don't know that it could have topped it. And then later I found out that at the coaches meeting at home plate, the umpire goes, "You gonna throw the old guy?" He goes, "I don't know. We'll see." Then I end up throwing. Then I find out Pudge Rodriguez is sitting next to Johnny Oates. He's like, "Hey, this guy can throw." So they interview him after the game. And Johnny Oates is sitting there. He goes, "Yeah, I asked my scouting report from the last time this guy pitched, but apparently they wrote on cave walls and we don't have it." I thought, dude, you just
Oh
threw me
my
way under.
God. Yeah, really. Jeez. So I mean, that's incredible. I mean, like all of a sudden, and if I remember correctly, you had said that you threw like the prior 2 or 3 days while in the minor, so you didn't think you were even going to get in the game, right?
Yeah, there's no way.
So all of a sudden they call you, they get Morris up, and next thing you know,
I just think I'm warming up, man. Hey, he wants
yeah,
to warm up in front of 40,000. That's cool. Let's do it.
yeah,
And then you're in the game, and man, then it hits you, and you're like, this is not a classroom in West Texas anymore.
no,
And this is not a high school field with 20 parents who have to be there. This is people are paying to come see this, and you're on stage, and these are the best people in the world. All these thoughts are rolling through your head. And it all culminates to one thing. If I'd have been 19 and I got that dream, I would have taken that for granted. But at 35,
yeah,
that meant a lot to me because I knew what it took to get there and
yeah.
what it took to not get there. So
Well, that's really the thing. I mean, you have a whole life's experience behind you, and when you actually realize that dream, which again, in your book, Dream Makers, by the way, is fantastic. I've been telling everybody about it, and I hope everybody that sees this buys it and reads it because it's like it is. It's one of the most inspiring stories, um, just that I've read in maybe ever, and it really does. I mean, like it captures that feeling. You captured it so great. I don't want to give too much away that's in the book, because I do want you people to read it. But it's, I mean, like that feeling must have been incredible. I mean, you mentioned just the smell of the grass, the popcorn, the beer, and just all of a sudden you're just running out to the mound, and just, I mean, everything that you went through to get there, moving around
right.
everywhere as a little kid. I mean, like, I mean, sports was the only constant, really.
Yeah, this was an amazing thing because at 35, jogging across that outfield
Oh,
and smelling those smells, I'm that 10-year-old kid again playing for a hot dog and a Coke after the game.
yeah.
And it just throws you right back into childhood. And it is you have a lot of dreams when you're young. You think, wow, that'd be so cool. And then to have one play out like that was just mind blowing, way better than I ever could have dreamed.
Yeah. I mean, it is something straight out of Hollywood, which obviously went directly to Hollywood. And, I mean, and that's an incredible thing too. I mean, just that span, what that came out in 2002, the movie.
Yeah.
So in that span of about 3 or 4 years, you go from just coaching and, in West Texas high school
Yep.
to hanging out, you know, watching your life story being made by Disney. I mean, is there a way to top those 3 years? I mean, what kind of whirlwind was that where what was going through your mind when you're standing there and you're like, man, there's Dennis Quaid trying to replicate my delivery, like
Yeah.
it's like, what possibly went through your mind?
It's wild. I think the two things really culminate with me the night before the premiere, when all these major league Hall of Famers came in town to watch the movie, and then Dennis and I got to go to the 21 Club and eat with 21 Hall of Famers, which
Oh,
was
wow.
awesome.
That's cool.
And them loving the movie, that meant a lot to me because baseball history.
Yeah.
And then during the premiere, I couldn't sit still. Your life is out there now and everybody's watching it. And so after the movie, we go back over to ESPN where we have the after movie party or whatever. Yeah. And all these Olympic athletes and all these stars and all these pro athletes are there, and they're there to watch a movie they put together about something that happened because of a group of kids in West Texas.
Yeah.
Their coach was dumb enough to take that bet, and look what happened. Hey, it can all work out. But all these people coming up to me, letting me hold their Olympic medals and stuff. I mean, just totally surreal.
Yeah.
Baseball night one night, and then 2 nights later, you're there, and everybody who is anybody is there. It's just amazing to me that we got to go through that in such a top class outfit as Disney, man. They know how to run a ship.
Oh yeah, I believe it. I mean, if you're going to do it,
do it well.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to go big or go home, really, with that one. So, I mean, I also was curious as to, I mean, I'm going to assume that The Rookie is your favorite baseball movie, but if there's a number 2, what would be your favorite baseball movie aside from The Rookie?
A League of Their Own.
Really?
Yeah.
It is a great movie.
I love it. And it just shows the history of the United States and wars, recessions, depressions, civil unrest. Baseball has seen us through. Even when the men couldn't play, the ladies took over and they played. And that's part of what baseball has meant to our democracy. And that's one of the reasons I love it.
That's true. I mean, aside from being, Tom Hanks was great. One of my favorite things was when he signed the baseball for the kid, avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan. But it's funny you mentioned that because actually Rocco, who works for, with Ballnine as well, we went to a dinner, the APBPA dinner. It's an organization started like 94 years ago by Lou Gehrig, and they help down and out ball players who can't afford, older retired guys who can't afford medical treatment, etc. And so we went to a dinner, and one of the guests she was 92 years old. Her name was Maybelle Blair, and she played in that league.
Oh.
And I guess she was kind of the all the way May character.
Yeah.
Because she did take a microphone and tell Bobby Grich to come grab her ass because she was sliding in skirts. She's like, if you boys think you had it rough, try sliding in a skirt. I dare anybody to come grab my ass. So Bobby Grich did. It was a weird evening, to say the least, but I mean, it's, like you said, I mean, baseball has always been there. And now we're going through a time again where people are stuck at home. Baseball's on, but is it really baseball? What is it that we're seeing? What do you think about these rule changes? Just these things that we're seeing right now in the game.
I think we have a skeletal season with a skeletal crew playing a skeletal game.
Yeah.
And, the preparation wasn't there. Whoever blew up all this pandemic stuff and not knowing the facts yet, you got to be safe no matter what. These guys are millionaires and this is their living, and slipping on a bar of soap could do it if you got an enlarged heart from getting COVID or whatever.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's true and you don't know what's not. And so you got to err on that side. But when you're out of work and you're sitting at home and you're on your computer at home doing your job and there's kind of a baseball game on, and so you gravitate towards because it's something. It's still, I don't know, man. I just think a lot of people, we need sports. We need sports badly because our society needs to quit thinking so hard.
That's a great point. And I mean, there's so much contention in every other aspect of the world where
Yeah.
everyone is just butting heads. And butting heads over a baseball game is a little different. I mean, it's like
Exactly.
it's fun. That's part of the fabric of America. I mean, it really is. It's you said when you did the roundtable with us, when you did the Roundhouse episode, that I mean, now you're seeing the politics squeak in to baseball, just like it did in football, and like it is doing, and I think that's kind of it's a horrible thing, because I mean that's one of the last places on earth where people can go and kind of forget about it and tune it out and just try and have some semblance of a normal life right now. What do you think about, I mean, not to get controversial or anything like that, but just your take on separating baseball and politics, and just kind of, there's a question.
We're not supposed to talk about religion in politics either.
Yeah.
And you can play sports. Let's look at this. You have millionaire people playing a game.
Yeah.
And millionaires making billionaires out of people who own millionaires making millions playing a game.
Yeah.
It's a game.
Yeah.
And you know what? We don't need political messages in every single thing we do. We've got enough. It's all over our screens and every bit of social media. What we need is a sport. We need a distraction, a diversion. We need to get away from ourselves and go, for a little bit, for 2 hours or 3 hours, I'm going to get normal.
Yeah.
And if I want to cuss at my team, I can, because they're not named anything bad and they're just my team and they suck. And so I'm going to get on.
Yeah.
What is sport being sport?
Yeah. I mean,
I never went into Fenway going, I hope everybody talks nice to me today. You go to get razzed. You hear things you never come up with before, and you're like, I love that. I'm keeping that.
I believe it. And I can only imagine what, I've been to Fenway a couple times, and they don't hold back.
They don't hold back. And they know what they're talking about. In the Yankee Stadium,
mm-hmm.
Fenway Park, those people know baseball because they've grown up with it from day one. And it's fun to watch, because if they get on you, you need getting on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I there is one part in your book that, was it Roberto Hernandez who said, if that they haven't gotten on you yet in the bleachers or something like that, and then they let you have it or something. But they were kind of cool about it, right? They
were like, you suck. It's a good story, but you suck anyway. And he goes, that's it. Oh my God. He goes, go back to right field or left field. I'm like, all right, man. Thanks for inviting me over.
That sounds about right. It's a great story, but you suck anyway. That sounds about right. I also wanted to ask, you had on that team, I know Roberto Hernandez, you were close with him. Wade Boggs was on that team as well. So, I mean, you guys are probably close in age. So you come up as a rookie. He's the grizzled vet at the time.
He's an automatic Hall of Famer, and I'm there for a cup of coffee. And you know what? It couldn't be any sweeter for me, because I got to be there, all because of a group of kids.
Yeah.
But to be there, I'm part of Wade Boggs going through everything he went through.
Yeah.
Man, that dude could hit. Professional hitter.
Oh, incredible. Incredible. So, I mean, that also brings me to, since you might have been 35, but you were still a rookie. So they must have hazed you. They must have got you somehow.
I did, Rod Dibble.
I do blaming Dibs. Oh, you're blaming Dibble.
I do an interview one day, and we've got Norm Charlton on our team and all these guys, and Dibble gets me on the phone. He's like, so have you been hazed yet? And I'm like, no. He goes, consider it taken care of. Oh. I don't think about it again, right? And so I go out. I throw 2 innings that night, and the Angels could hit. And so I had 2 great innings, and the Disney people were there, and some of my old coaches were there. And one of my minor league coaches is sitting there with our producer of the movie, who also played for me back in the minors. And the coach looks and he goes, where was that crap when he pitched for me? But you're sitting and they come in, 2 innings, strike out 4, yes, let's go. I walk in, and every bit of clothing I have is gone. My suitcases are gone. I have a wig, a blonde wig.
A blonde wig.
Bra, a G-string, has Ring My Bell on the front, has a bell on it. And you know what? I don't know who created G strings, but they were created in some kind of torture chamber. I'll promise you that. And so I've got this skirt and wig and blouse and high heel shoes, and I fly from Anaheim, California to Manhattan, New York. And I get off
Oh,
at 7 a.m. in downtown Manhattan in front of the Grand. And I'm like, and I got New Yorkers going, look what the freaks just brought in.
so you just come
I'm like,
off the bus. You wore it all the way to the hotel.
had to wear it all. Then they didn't give me my clothes back until half an hour
Oh,
before we left for the park.
oh no.
Oh, I hid my room in the hotel robe until it was time to go.
That's. I mean, well, I guess it makes sense. If Rob Dibble got you Norm Charlton, there's the connection. I would blame Norm Charlton if I had to blame somebody.
They're all good with me.
That's
And
great. That's great, though.
but what's funny is one night we get rained out, right? And so baseball players, you don't go out. What do? You drink in the hotel because you
Yeah.
can't go out. So I drink with the guys at night, and then they wake me up at 6 a.m. And I'm like, what? And Bert's going, we're going to breakfast. Come on. I'm like, dude, I just went to bed like 3 hours ago. And so I get upstairs, I get dressed, I get down, and we're walking down the street of Manhattan at 7:45 in the morning, and Bert reaches through these windows and knocks through the bars against the glass, and this guy opens it up, and he and a couple of the other guys had taken a couple of us rookies to the dress shop, and they
Oh wow.
suited us out in suits and shirts and belts, shoes, I mean everything, and they tailored everything. They go, this will be in your room the night after the game. And it was hanging in my closet after the game.
Wow.
I mean, so many great stories of guys all over Major League Baseball
Yeah.
before, during, and after my time, and rich history of really good people. And we don't
Yeah.
want to talk about that because we're the country that feeds on bad. And
Yeah.
so if it's not negative, we don't want to talk about it. We don't talk about the good things and all. Going into a hospital during spring training and Bert going, did you bring Kleenex? And I'm like, no, why? He goes, you're going to need it. And we're going into a kid's cancer unit.
Oh man. Yeah.
And these kids are fighting and they're braver than any adults I've seen in my life. And they just throw you into tears. And we have our perspectives totally skewed. We
Yeah.
concentrate on things that don't matter and don't concentrate on what does. And we're just turned around right now. We need to get back.
I agree. I mean, do you think that's possible with the way things are going? I mean, do you think eventually it just has to hit a breaking point and then we just eventually just get back to normal life? I mean,
I am tired of hearing myself say this year. I don't know what normal's going to look like anymore.
yeah.
I don't. Do we really want normal back? Because we were griping about it before, and now we want it back. And it's kind of like breaking up with somebody in high school, and then after you get
Yeah.
divorced, you go back and you're like, "Hey, why don't we date again?"
Yes.
You're like, "Oh yeah, I know why I don't like you now." And
That's a great analogy. I wanted to ask you another thing about the first time through the minors. Um, you were originally drafted, I believe, in '82 by the Yankees, right?
yes,
And then you went back to school, but the next year were drafted by Milwaukee.
Milwaukee in January when they still had the supplemental draft.
Okay.
Uh, Two of us were at Ranger Junior College, and Jack Allen was a great coach, Ranger Junior College for a long time. Kevin Brown had come in from Alabama, the left-handed Kevin Brown,
Yeah.
and he got drafted by the Mets at number 3. And then during that fall, while my grandfather fought ALS, I'm pitching during the weeks, but going home on the weekends. And he goes, do not throw the ball hard. Whatever you do, don't throw it hard. I don't care what happens. I don't care how far they hit it. Don't throw hard. I'm like, okay. Third pitch, this guy hits one that has not landed yet. And it's 35 years later. And he walks out and he goes, that's perfect. He walked back, and the next guy steps in the box and digs in and grins at me. I wind up, I throw that ball as hard as I can, and he calls timeout again. And he walks back out. He doesn't look up. He doesn't look around. He looks at my feet and he goes, oh, you just screwed me. And he turned around and walked off. And then 2 months later, I get drafted by the Brewers at number 4, and that's 2 starting pitchers out of a junior college that had Ellis
Wow.
Burks and everybody else on it. So
Ellis Burks was on that team. No way. Really?
yeah,
That's pretty cool. So then,
yeah.
I mean, so in '83 in the minor league system in Milwaukee, I mean, it was Milwaukee themselves had a pretty solid team around then. I mean, those guys could hit. You had a bunch of,
Oh, they could hit. Yeah.
oh my goodness. So, I mean, did you come up with any of those guys? Were any of those guys who kind of get up there a little bit later in the '80s? Did you play
You
in the
know,
minors with any of those guys?
my rookie league team, we had Mark Chiardi go to the big leagues, Jeff Parrott go to the big leagues, Dan Plesac go to the big leagues.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's like 8 or 9 pitchers in there that all went to the big leagues off a rookie league team. And then you look back and go, I wonder why we won that league. Well,
Yeah, surprise.
and loaded team. That team was loaded.
Oh man, that's it's incredible. And then it's just, so what was it, 88 that you just kind of, that you were like, okay, that's when you had your surgery and it just wasn't happening, right?
Yeah.
It was 88, 89 around there.
Yeah.
And so
what had happened was I went back with the White Sox for a short period. I had helped our local college team restart their program after a lot of years. And so I was the pitching coach. And then a guy Walt Williams, who used to play for the Rangers, says, you need to go back and play. I'm like, no way, dude, can't do it. I'm coaching, I'm going to school, I'm getting my degree.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I'm in Florida, lighting up fall camp, come back to spring training, get pneumonia like the second day of camp, missed 3.5 weeks, tried to come back too quick, end up Dr. Andrews' office again, and then eventually in Dr. Ryan's office, who did the surgery.
Oh man.
And was done. And Scott Radinsky ended up being the lefty that went up for the White Sox. And
wow. Yeah.
so I've seen a lot of people in my day, and I've watched them. And, people go, aren't you upset that wasn't you at the time? Absolutely not, man. I got to play with those guys. I knew who they were, and I knew what they were trying to hide and what they couldn't. I knew what they thought was funny and what they didn't think was funny. But I also knew how talented they were. Yeah. Like when Plesac comes to rookie ball, and he's throwing, I guess he does okay at NC State, but when he gets to rookie ball, all of a sudden he starts throwing 95 with 91-mile-an-hour sliders, and you're like, ooh, this cat can throw, man.
Yeah, that's nasty.
And just fantastic talent.
Man, that is something. I mean, and then that is something, just going back to what you said earlier, I mean, that really does make you appreciate it that much more when you did finally get up there and everything you went through. And that, yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, is there anything in you where like you'd want to coach again, maybe, or like, or are you just kind of happy doing what you're doing? And
doing the writing thing and the motivational speaking is something I never saw myself doing. I had somebody in college tell me I need to write books, and I thought, you're full of it, lady, but I'll do whatever you tell me to do to make an A. And then later on, I write 2 books. But speaking was something I never saw coming. And I thought, I don't like talking in front of crowds. You read my book. I didn't, because my dad, I didn't talk ever. And then now I make a living talking. It's kind of strange. And, my wife will watch me over and over and over, light up a crowd and then leave to the airport and not say a word until we get home. And that's just who I am. And after you and I talked yesterday, she goes, you miss talking to people. I am ready to talk to myself. I'm going to go look in the mirror like my daughter used to when she was young and talk to myself. And it is something I never saw coming, but I love it. I would love to coach again one day, but I've coached some really good kids. And, Casimir was one who ended up dealing. I mean, my agent talked to me after the games in Florida that one time. He goes, what did you think of that kid? I go, he could pitch in Double-A right now. I think he was 16.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, really? I go, he's throwing 3-0 changeups, dude, on the black. Come on. And 95, he weighs 160 pounds at the time. You're like, how is this guy getting that kind of juice up there with 160 pounds behind him? And just very fluid. And Delman Young and Dimitri was my assistant coach with our baseball.
Oh, was he really?
Team, and we had a blast, man.
That must have been great.
Oh, there were stories going on in that dugout. We had everybody giggling. Nobody could be uptight in our dugout, I'll promise you.
Oh, I believe that. I mean, it's Dimitri Young. I mean, I met him years ago. He's an interesting dude, man. He's like an interesting guy. Like, good guy.
It was cool because all these guys kept coming over during this tournament. You got Sean Casey and all these other people. I cannot count on 2 fingers the amount of bad people I met playing the game.
That's great.
I love the people in the game, and they're in the game because they love the game, or they're good at some aspect of it, and so they want to be a part of it, and they're sharing that with the younger generation. I think that is commendable, and we need that to carry on. We don't need 300 games a year from our 15-year-olds. What we need is great, solid coaching.
Exactly. I mean, and that's another thing. And I think, and I wanted to actually ask your opinion on this. So it's interesting you said that. You're seeing these kids like travel ball. These kids are playing just all year round. You're seeing these kids in the showcase games. They're throwing 100 pitches. Then 2 days later, another, 120 pitches. They're not, their arms aren't fully developed yet. Do you think that's adding to the injuries that we're seeing? And I mean, you mentioned Dr. Andrews. I mean, the amount of Tommy John surgeries that we're seeing. I mean, does
Yeah,
that?
even at the time when I was playing, the athletic trainers would come up to me on the team and they go, you know what? We've had so many parents come up and talk to us going, what was the surgery that Jimmy had? Because I want to get that for my kid. And they're like, is your kid hurt? And they're like, no, but we want you to throw hard. I'm like, that's not how it works, man.
That's crazy.
And they're like dumping all this amount of money into their kids playing this sport. When you look at the percentage of the population that actually get to that top level, it is so infinitesimally small.
Yeah.
That you're wasting all this money on these kids that could be spent on education or some other thing that they really want to do, but they don't know that because you push baseball from day one, or soccer or basketball or whatever the sport is now. And by the time a kid's 10, Nike and everybody else already has their eyes on a kid because he's out in front of everybody. And you're just like, let them grow up, man. If they're good now, let them become really good on their own by playing every sport, and let's see how good they can really be.
That's true.
Because we'll never know the next Bo Jackson or anybody like that because we're so concentrated on our one little narrow area, we're closing it down.
You're right. And everything is so specialized now. And it's, you know, I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, I played baseball, I played football, I played a little hockey. I mean, like, you know, it's just, you played everything. You know, now it's, and especially with baseball, and one thing I'm noticing is, you know, you're seeing a lot of, you know, these kids that are going through the showcase programs and the travel ball. I mean, it all costs money. So, I mean, it's kind of MLB, at least for the American players, is kind of starting to turn into kind of like the NHL, where it's just a bunch of wealthy white kids that are playing. And you're not, I mean, yes, you're getting the guys from Latin America and Japan, but I mean, as far as America's concerned, you're not seeing guys like, you know, the Young brothers, for instance. You know, I mean, you're not getting, you know, I mean, in the city, in the inner city, you know what? You want to play basketball, all you need is a ball and a place to, you know, and a hoop somewhere. Football, you need a football and a group of guys. I mean, you don't need, you know,
I want to see things change a little bit because we've got so many kids walking the streets in inner cities nowadays, and I want those kids back out in between the white lines so they can compete and they can learn about teamwork and character and learn what it's like to go chase a dream and work for it and go, I earned this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And watching their eyes light up when they become a part of something bigger than themselves, and they're not running the streets, but they're part of a team, and that team is getting better every single time out, and they're going to become good, and it's going to teach them about the ups and downs of life. I mean, taught me a lot from 19 to 35. I'll promise you that. And still teaching me today, and I'm watching the game, and it's changed so much.
Yeah.
But I want all these kids to be able to get back out on the athletic field and compete and have fun and be part of a team, because when you learn how to work together, we seem to get along a lot better together.
That is an excellent point. That's an excellent point. And, you know, I mean, it's kind of a lost art. Team building is just not what it was. I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, you see so many kids now, they'd rather just isolate and play video games on their couch, you know, maybe against one of their friends who's 3 miles away. But I mean, it's still, you know, it's not a bunch of kids like just playing. I mean, you know, I mean, when we weren't playing organized sports, we would get together and play, you know, play in the schoolyard, and you play on a sand lot and play, you know, we would, you know, get like our crappy shoulder pads and put like little cheap football helmets on and play football. I mean, you know, like, you know, just full contact. It's just, you're not seeing it anymore. And it's disheartening. And I think that also is, you know, that's also part of the problem with, you know, as the generations grow older, and what we're seeing is just everybody is so just into themselves and not about the team and not about something bigger than themselves. And that's,
well, we've made it that way because we shop it that way now.
Yeah.
If you're a pitcher, you're going to be a pitcher. Don't ever pick up a bat. Don't look at a bat. Don't even ever try to smell a bat. Just pitch. And that's all we want you to do. And if you're going to catch, you catch. We don't care if you can hit, as long as you can throw guys out from your knee. Yeah. Just specialize. And where's the fun?
That's the thing.
If you're one of those people, if you're a Casimir or an Asa Lacy who just got drafted by Kansas City, and you go out and you light every place on fire you've ever been, that's awesome. But what about that kid who was in the 29th round, who nobody ever saw going anywhere, but pitching in the big leagues for 12 years because, you know what? They just need to develop a little bit more. And we're cutting those people out now.
Absolutely. Is there hope for baseball? is it going to return back to the game that we loved? Is it going to, or is it going to just continue on this path of, it's okay if you hit 200, but you hit 30 home runs, and it's just this kind of boring strikeout, walk, home run thing, and
I don't know,
do you
man.
see it coming back, or do you think that's just what we have now?
Well, you said something. You said hope. I hope it comes back.
Yeah.
I hope we get back to the game. I hope we get back to where if a guy struts around the bases, we can throw him chin music the next time, not trying to maim him, but to give him a little message going, you better not dig in like that again, dude.
Yeah.
Because you're taking the unwritten rules out of the game and making it safe for everybody to have fun. This is a game that people pay a lot of money for to watch it be played, the very best in the world. And if you're going to take some of those tools away from these guys, why should people pay to watch it?
It's an excellent point. That is an excellent point. And, like you said, and it just keeps getting more and more expensive. The contracts keep going up and up. So the fans are paying the price. And if it's a watered down product, I don't know. It's just, I'll love baseball no matter what, because I just always have. But, I do miss the days where, like you said, just knock a guy off the plate a little bit, just, little things like that.
Just send a little message.
Yeah, that's all. A little shot in the hip or something like that, nothing wrong with that. You're not hitting him in the face. Yeah.
No, don't go head hunting. No. Definitely make him think a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's pretty
If
funny.
all I do is live on the outside corner, where are you going to lean into?
Yeah, exactly. You're just going to be standing on the plate,
Well, the analytics were right. That ball hit at this trajectory. Well, no kidding. He threw 18 pitches in a row at 95 on the outside part of the plate.
It didn't move. It sure spun a lot, but it didn't move.
Exactly.
That's a whole nother story. I actually just wanted to ask one more thing. When we talked to Goose Gossage recently, he said when he wanted to drill somebody, if he got in his mind he was going to smoke somebody, he would throw it. I think he said he would throw it like 4 inches behind him, so the guy would back into it, and that's how he would plug him. I was curious as to what if you're gonna send a message and plug somebody, what was your technique?
Here's the message. I was left-handed.
Yes.
They didn't know where it was going because I didn't know where it was going.
All right. Well, that's fair.
And the ball moved like crazy. So I would start one on the outside part of the plate, hit a guy in his back hip, and you're like, how'd the ball get there? I have no idea, but I need to try to replicate that.
Exactly. I have to keep my mechanics the same here. Well, that was great. And I want to thank you, Mr. Morris, for coming by and hanging out with us today. And always a pleasure speaking with you. It really is. And I just want to let everybody know once again, the book is Dream Makers. Mr. Jim Morris, our first guest who ever had a Disney movie made about him. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Mr. Morris.
Yes, sir, Chris. You have a great rest of your week, sir. And hey, cool off a little bit, man.
I'll try. Good luck with the rest of your move.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.